Kelly Ray Finley, the interim head coach, has a lot to smile about with her group. 11-5 overall on the season, elevated to that position after some turmoil with the previous head coach. Meanwhile, Johnny Harris finally getting a crack at it as a head coach. A wealth of coaching experience on the sideline, from assistant to associate head coach, last stop at Texas, and now with the Auburn Tigers, as we are underway from Exactech Arena. Auburn coming in at 8-6 on the season, again searching for their first win in SEC play after a loss to LSU Sunday. Precious Johnson, who's getting her first start of the season, immediately thrown to the fire for Johnny Harris's team. Just her second game overall in an Auburn uniform. Trying to get a hand on that one was honestly Scott Grayson. The guard play, very important for the Florida Gators. You mentioned it in the open, but both sets of guards in the backcourt will be really active early on and throughout the game for both of these teams. Kiki Smith, along with Zippy Broughton. Broughton, who's coming off a career high, 28 points in that big win over Texas A&M. And the jumper falls, it goes down. That's Nina Rickards, yet another scoring option for the Gators, the junior out of Queens. It's tied at 2-all.
And for both these teams, you mentioned the guard play, but they've got to get paint touches. They've got to be able to create off the bounce. Auburn's going to do it with some dribble weave action, just trying to get their perimeter players downhill and near the rim.
Well, on the take, that was Coulibaly. And good contest and defense from the Gators. Little pinball action, falling to the floor, and a backcourt violation called against the Gators. They turn it over. Well, Kiki Smith, who is the leader of this Florida Gator team, she is one player that we've watched over the years continue to just get better and better. Enjoy watching her game. She's guarding Sanaya Wells.
And there's going to be some great one-on-one battles here this evening, whether it's honestly Scott Grayson against Zippy Broughton on either end of the court. Who can disrupt and take a team out of their flow?
That was honestly Scott Grayson knocking down the jumper, the second leading scorer on the team, and the answer right back the other way is Zippy Broughton picking up where she left off Sunday.
Well, both these teams want to score in transition, but I think the more Florida can make this an up-and-down game, the more it bodes well for them to get the W. Have much deeper bench, and they definitely have more guards that they can throw out to defend and push tempo.
A new starting lineup for Johnny Harris. Good first look at Annie Hughes taking it to the hoop. And off the miss, the rebound, Rickards pushing it up the left side of the court. And Broughton driving baseline, and once again just floating it up there. And Zippy Broughton, who is really coming into her own. We must mention that Lavender Briggs is out for the season with a lower leg injury. So Zippy Broughton inserted into the lineup last game. They had success. They hope that it can continue for the Rutgers transfer.
Well, and Zippy Broughton missed the first 2 games of SEC play for Florida, and she has continued on a tear from that A&M exhibition she had on Sunday.
Honestly, Scott Grayson whistled for her first personal foul. And Flora Tonders checking in now for the Gators. Let's go back to that last bucket from Zippy Broughton.
Zippy's got some zip, but she also has great touch when she gets near the rim. That time, explosive to the rim, but then elevates to knock it down.
Coming in and charging for that rebound was Jordan Merritt. Merritt couldn't get to it. 6'4" advantage. Just over 3 minutes played in Gainesville. Gators on top. Again, good defense as Sanaya Wells was hounded by a couple of black jerseys, including Kiki Smith.
And you got great perimeter speed for both of these teams. Which perimeter player can get by their defender and not just get by, but get their shoulders ahead of them so they have a good look at the basket. That time Sanaya Wells was off the drive but couldn't get that extra step to get a clean look.
They move it around, find Zippy Broughton again, who's got a nose for the basketball, and so does Tonders, as Tonders is there on the putback off the offensive board. So Florida doubling their lead against the Auburn Tigers.
Sorry, I was going to say, I just think for both of these teams, the key is the offensive glass. Can they create extra possessions? Because we know both these teams want to turn you over. So who creates more scoring opportunities through their rebounding this evening?
Well, Precious Johnson trying to show off some post moves, forced to go left. And Broughton, who quickly gets up into the half court. Ricard's near elbow jumper won't fall. Coming down with the rebound is Scott Grayson. She's the top returner from last year. Reliable ball defender as she moved from point guard to off guard, more of a natural position for her. And off the foot of Scott Grayson, and it's Florida basketball.
Well, if at first you don't succeed, try again. Florida Tunders follows that miss and takes it up strong for Florida.
So far, the Gators 4 of 8 from the floor, winning the battle on the boards. Also very important for this Gator team. But when you're looking at some of the keys and what's going to be a part of Florida notching a number 2 win in league play, what's it going to be, Christy?
Well, I think they've got to take care of the ball, because when they can get out in transition and score or hit the jumper, as Kiki just did, they're really dangerous. And they need to win the glass.
Foul on the floor. It's called against Kiki Smith. Media timeout in Gainesville. We'll take it with them. 4:47 remaining in the first. Florida on top.
They took 5 charges in that game against the Aggies.
And this is exactly what you referenced, Christy, the fact that Lavender Briggs is out for the remainder of the season with the stress reaction in her lower leg, her point production, her presence on the floor. You know, she had paced the way for the Gators in her previous 2 seasons. Now it's time for others to step up, and we saw Zippy Broughton do exactly that Sunday against Texas A&M.
Absolutely. I mean, basketball, that's the beautiful thing about basketball. It's a team game, and you always got to know when your number's called, you got to step up. And it wasn't just Zippy Broughton. She had a lot of points, but I thought Christina Moore off the bench made some big plays for Florida to steal that victory.
Well, getting on the board is Coulibaly, and Coulibaly now with her first 2 points of the game, and she will need to do more of that, attacking the rim, forcing a turnover. The Tigers defense comes up with it. And Annie Hughes driving to the hoop, picks up her dribble.
Marshawn Bostic, the point guard for Auburn now with the ball, is just a dynamic young player. So fast, great. And Johnny Harris says one of her best on-ball defenders as she got that steal. Now just needs to get more game experience for the Tigers.
On the floor for Auburn, Scott Grayson, Hughes, 2 new faces in Jayla Jordan, Marshawn Bostic, as you mentioned, along with Coulibaly, Tonders. As she's able to drop the bucket, Florida does have the size advantage inside, slightly over the Tigers.
Well, credit Rimdahl for the dribble penetration, which forced the rotation of Tonders' player, which allowed her that easy look.
Knocking it down, great look for Coulibaly as she's able to knock down the triple from deep. Had 13 points in that Sunday loss to LSU, but a good sign for Johnny Harris's crew because they're coming off a season low in terms of field goal percentage, 24 clip on Sunday, so they're hoping to change that, and they're doing a better job here tonight.
We said from the tip that Aisha Coulibaly is a matchup nightmare. There, a guard on her, so she drives past, uses her strength, and then Rimdahl with the dribble penetration pulls the defender. Tunders there for the easy 2.
At the line for the Gators, number 15, Nina Rickard. She'll shoot 2 shots.
So Ricard's at the line, shooting 2 after the foul by Jayla Jordan, her first, team's second. (14-9) lead for Florida, as Jariah Warren checking in for the Gators, the true freshman, seeing her first minutes of the game out of Lake Charles, Louisiana. The long baseball pass from Scott Grayson on the inbound, and they take to the basket, and the make and finish by Marshawn Bostic.
Well, Johnny Harris said she knew they were going to get pressed. She said, you attack the pressure. That time you saw the home run pass to Boston.
And the answer on the other end from the true freshman from Denmark, that's Alberte Rimdahl, Bertie Rimdahl, who is the program's first ever signee from Denmark. Losing her footing there, but a foul on the way to the basket as Koulibaly is fouled.
That's her first, team second. Substitution for the Tigers, number 50.
Precious Johnson back in for the Tigers, and we were talking during the break about how long would Precious Johnson be able to stay on the floor. She's pretty spanking brand new to this team, transferred over from Texas, signed with the program in October, but enrolled at Auburn for the spring semester. First game Sunday, and now thrown into the fire once more in SEC play.
Well, not just first game, first practice was Saturday. So with the day off, you figure she's got 3 days of practice under her belt and gets to start here on the road today.
4-point deficit for the road team, Auburn, after one of 2 makes at the free throw line. And hedged out. And a foul on the floor. Well, what a women's basketball doubleheader we have, as more action coming your way. The #1 team in the land, South Carolina, hosting Texas A&M at Colonial Life Arena. That's coming up right after our game. And then the nightcap is number 5, Tennessee, taking on Vanderbilt. How about the Lady Vols and the way they have played basketball? They are on a roll, winners of 6 straight. And Kelly Harper has a group where you got a chance to see their team last weekend against Ole Miss, and they look like they are primed to make a deep run into the postseason.
Well, they can beat you by scoring 80. They can beat you by scoring in the 40s, because the bottom line is that they're going to defend, they're going to rebound, and now that offense is starting to come alive. And let's not forget, Ray Burrell is back and ready to roll.
Ray Burrell is back, but Jordan Horston, who has had the reins for the team, she's the leading scorer for the Lady Vols and really upped her game in the corner. And talking about upping her game, Christina Moore, who is always ready for the opportunity, she's able to knock down the triple.
Well, and going to that A&M game, she had not played many minutes on the season, and I asked Kelly Ray about that, and she was really honest with us. She said, you know, the one thing about Christina Moore is that she said, Coach, I trust you. You do whatever is needed for our team to win. And her coach could not have been more proud of her, because, as I said before, 2 of 4 from 3, and big charge towards the end of regulation to ensure that victory for Florida on Sunday.
Kelly Ray Finley has a great relationship with her players, and that open door policy to be able to voice something like that. So when a player gets antsy with the decreased playing time, you know, sometimes you may be hesitant to approach your head coach with an opportunity like that, but not Christina Moore, and not shy of taking the shot and knocking it down is Bertie Rimdahl.
Rimdahl has made her presence felt here in the first quarter. I love how active she's been on the offensive end.
Coming back and active the other way is Honesty Scott Grayson, who's been a really good leader for Johnny Harris and continuing to improve on those leadership skills as a redshirt junior.
And you'll see Auburn run some dribble drive off of misses. It's a really taxing offense because you've always got to move and react to a player movement, a player cut, or the ball movement. But Johnny Harris has said she's had to run more sets to give her players a chance to rest because she doesn't have a deep bench this season.
Well, too much dribbling there for her team as they turn the ball over. Or excuse me, it was knocked out of bounds. So 8 to go on the shot clock, just about 12 and under now on the game clock. That's Bostic, who was going right at the body of Manu de Oliveira.
Out of bounds, Auburn basketball.
Correction, that was Zippy Broughton. So 4.08 seconds left in the first, and Auburn will get another crack at it. On the inbound, the long shot, and no good. 1 second to go as Coulibaly couldn't connect. Good opening quarter for both of these teams, shooting 50% or better from the floor, but it's the Florida Gators with a balanced attack who's getting it done. Coulibaly pacing the way with 6 points for her team. First quarter high school ball at IMG Academy in Florida, down in Bradenton. You see the first quarter stats, and thus far, both teams shoot the ball relatively well, but you see those points off of those 5 turnovers, 7 points in favor of Florida.
And Tiff out of the break. Auburn going to a 2-3 matchup zone.
Wells and Scott Grayson on the near side of your court. Jordan Merritt gambling for that one. Coulibaly gets into the lane, and that's what her mindset is. It's to attack. It's to be aggressive.
And she's a physical player, but I was really impressed with the body control there to avoid going into the defender and maybe getting called for an offensive foul.
Jordan Merritt on the make, the left hand, and we saw Jordan Merritt during pregame warm-ups, the long lashes with the stars, no distraction there as clear sight to the basket. 23-16, Florida. One of the things I think Johnny Harris is going to be paying attention to is just how well her team fights and competes within games. She said she didn't like the way her group came out in the first quarter against LSU, started to then settle in the second and third quarters, and then just ran out of gas in the final period.
Well, Tiffany, Johnny Harris said they are 5 possessions away on the season from being 12-2 entering today's game. They've been so close. It's been some mental lapses down the stretch, and a lot of that's fatigue. Again, not a deep bench, and so it's not only important for her to be able to substitute the way she needs to by Auburn avoiding foul trouble, but also for these starters to be able to play a multitude of minutes productively. Not just filling minutes, but filling the stat sheet.
Timeout taken on the court. Just 2 bench points for Auburn compared to 11. Exactly to your point, Christy. 7:45 to go. We'll step aside for a quick break. B-State. Then it's Auburn, the 4th-ranked Tigers, taking on Ole Miss at 8:30. You can catch it right here on the SEC Network and also on the ESPN app. One app, one tap. Corner 3 won't go for Scott Grayson as we resume play from Gainesville. Christy Thomas-Scuddy, Tiffany Green here with you. The Florida Gators trying to notch back-to-back wins in league play. Meanwhile, Auburn in search of their first SEC win.
So if you're Florida, you don't want to settle for these outside jumpers against the matchup zone of Florida. Already we're seeing the effect of Auburn going to that 2-3 matchup.
Dead on look for Jayla Jordan, and Jordan is able to knock down the mid-range jumper. They need her to not only contribute but be good when she's on the floor, according to their head coach, Johnny Harris.
Well, she is averaging 10 points a game in Auburn's wins on the season. In their losses, just 2. If that shows you how important Jayla Jordan is to this ball club.
Trying to find a little extra room off the miss. Wells coming down with the rebound. So 5 different scores for Auburn. But it's Coulibaly who has half, or just under half of the points for the Tigers. Kiki Smith on the take to the basket, and she's fouled on the way up.
Yeah, I think if you're Auburn, you want to be selective on your three-point attempts because that allows Florida to get out and do what we've talked about that they do best, and that is get out transition. That time, Kiki Smith just coast to coast and draws the foul.
A graduate returning for a COVID year for interim head coach Kelly Ray Finley, led the team in points, rebounds, and assists. Excellent defender as well. And what I've enjoyed watching about Kiki Smith is the fact that this is a point guard who has really sharpened every area of her game. She started out the game strong. She's gotten better, especially going into Southeastern Conference play.
And when you talk about the longevity of this young lady, I mean, I feel like she's been at Florida for 10 years now. But I've seen the growth in her as a true point guard, in that leadership, in her being more vocal. She's always been an active, dynamic player on the floor, but her leadership has been so extraordinary the last 2 seasons for this ball club.
And it seems as if she never leaves the floor. A second chance opportunity for Auburn. They're able to come up with it. Shot clock resets to 20. And Scott Grayson working on Smith, batted away, and again the pressure there on the backside help for the Gators in transition. The bounce pass to Rimdahl, and there it is. Credit Kiki Smith with the assist.
Well, and it starts with the defense for Florida. This team is so much better defensively this season under head coach Finley. They're more active, they're disruptive, and they're taking those stops and converting easy scoring opportunities. You want to take pressure off your half-court offense, you do it with defense. Players on the floor, scrum, kick out to Kiki Smith, draws the defender, easy layup for Rimdahl. This is when Florida is at their best.
In terms of forcing turnovers and steals, that's where they excel. 4th best in terms of steals per game. And Coulibaly inside the paint, gets her own rebound, the second chance, put back, and it's good.
Coulibaly puts so much pressure on opposing defenses because you're trying to defend her, and you just saw then Florida relaxed once Coulibaly shot it. Coulibaly's still on offense, meaning she's going to the glass to extend the possession.
Foul underneath the basket. And that's Coulibaly, who's whistled for her first personal foul. So an 8-point differential between Auburn and Florida.
Number 2, Tati Weiss at the line for the Gators.
3rd and 4th.
She'll shoot 2.
Rather 5th and 6th free throws on the way for the Gators. Talk about Christina Moore, and earlier you mentioned her wanting to have a more active or integral role in this team, and she had 8 points last game, already now with 5 here today.
Well, with Lavender Briggs shutting it down for the season, that provides minutes for other players, and credit Christina Moore. Some players sulk and complain. She stayed with it, and her time has come, and she's performed in a big way.
Coulibaly, who's still on the floor, she fell awkwardly going up for that shot, and she's grabbing the backside near that tailbone area. Don't want to speculate here, but watch this again. And she's going to feel that probably now, and especially after the game. Was helped up and now at the free throw line to shoot a couple already in double digits. Gymnastics takes over the SEC network every Friday night, and tomorrow we'll have a gymnastics doubleheader starting in Lexington. 2 top 15 meets, Georgia and Kentucky. Then the nightcap at 8:30, 14th ranked Auburn taking on Arkansas. You can catch it right here on the SEC network. And how exciting it is, we can't mention it enough. Gymnastics heading to the network. It will be on ABC this weekend.
It's wonderful. It just shows the growth of women's athletics. We have had 2 women's basketball games, we had a softball game, and now gymnastics getting into the party.
Talking about let's keep the party going is Birdie Rimdahl, who was able to hit the trifecta. And just like that, Rimdahl with 9 points. You see shooting very efficiently from the floor and stretching this lead out for the Gators to 13, their largest of the game.
Well, I like that Auburn just went high percentage. Get Precious Johnson low, feed her the ball. She draws the foul, gets to the free throw line.
50 years of women's athletics at the University of Florida. That's what they're celebrating, and we are hopeful for another 50 more and beyond. Precious Johnson already played 11 minutes in this ball game thus far. We said we would keep an eye on just how long she was on the court. And when we had a chance to first see Precious Johnson, from the last time we saw her on the court to now, when she was at Texas, now at Auburn, looks a lot different.
And I asked Johnny Harris, I said, was that you guys? She said, no, that was Precious Johnson, who really worked on her fitness level. And you can see it. She's moving better. She's more active on both ends of the floor. And I truly believe she's able to play more minutes now. I mean, again, this young lady has not practiced a lot, but I don't feel like she could have played this long of a stretch a year ago.
Well, Johnny Harris continued to talk about how Precious Johnson, the sophomore out of Texas, is really expecting to see her best basketball ahead of her, but she is now putting in the work, doing what is necessary, coming in when nobody else is in the gym to try to better herself. On the inbound, that's Coulibaly, who is able to get to the bucket. 12 points now for the sophomore.
And that's a breakdown of the scouting report, because you got to know in out-of-bounds plays that Auburn is looking to find Coulibaly.
We talked about Christy just settling for jump shots. On the other end, it's Coulibaly, who's just like, let me go in.
Well, you always are taught, see man, see ball, and that time Christina Moore just gets caught looking to the weak side, and Coulibaly does a great job of cutting back door for the easy 2. Clear out for Coulibaly. It was there for her to go one-on-one if she'd wanted it.
Wells picks up her dribble. Tough pass to Coulibaly. And Smith back the other way for the Gators. See Tati White setting the screen. Zippy Broughton, good look for 3. Coulibaly corrals the rebound. She brings in averaging 8 a game. That was her 5th here tonight.
Tiff, something to watch for Florida is Auburn has struggled in recent games to score in the half court. So what Florida doesn't want to do is bail them out with fouls, because this is one of the top teams in the nation in free throw attempts as well as free throws made.
So Johnson will take a breather. Kelly Finley having a quick conversation with the official. There's always a lot of lobbying going on, trying to make sure you get understanding of calls. There are many games within the game. 2 minutes to go in the first half. Scott Grayson sees that one bounce in. That's her 6th point of the game.
Yeah, I'd really like to see, honestly, Scott Grayson look for more scoring opportunities. I think Auburn really needs her to take more shots for them to be more effective offensively.
I was going to say, who is going to complement Coulibaly here tonight, who has done a lot of the heavy lifting. Here's Andy Hughes, who Coach Johnny Harris says, I want her to look for her shot a lot too, but Coulibaly is there on the O board and is able to put it back in.
30-second timeout.
30-second timeout taken on the court, and the Auburn Tigers trailing by just 5.
Well, I was talking to you earlier, Tiffany, that I really believe this game is going to come down to possessions because both these teams shoot comparable percentages, turn the ball over about them. So by possessions game, who gets more of those scoring opportunities? Well, Coulibaly's doing it on the offensive end right now by attacking the glass to extend these possessions for Auburn.
Well, this game is featuring a couple of first-year head coaches within the Southeastern Conference. Kelly Ray Finley with the interim tag that was placed on her back in July. Johnny Harris taking over and picking up her first win as a head coach back on November 16th. They join Kim Mulkey, who is naturally a 6-time national champion as a player, assistant, and coach and all that good stuff. But first year in the SEC, Doug Novak over at Mississippi State, and Shay Ralph coming over from UConn to join and lead the Vanderbilt Commodores.
Well, this was already a tremendously well-coached league, and then you add this group. I mean, the sky's the limit, and let's not forget we still have Oklahoma and Texas coming to join the party here in a couple of years.
Oh, that's going to make it all the more interesting for sure. But, you know, when you ask these coaches, hey, well, what's it like? You know, what's this experience like? Johnny Harris was like, well, you know, I've been around the game, 23 years. So it's exactly what I expected for Kelly Ray Finley. I think, she's done a really nice job also making a bid of why she should be solidified as the head coach of the Florida Gators or any other program. Great non-conference season for the Gators, their first 10 wins in non-conference since the 2015-16 season.
I think when you talk about both of these head coaches, it's their mentors. It's who they've been influenced by. Johnny Harris, we know. Vic Schaefer, Gary Blair, Kay Yao have been her mentors and biggest influences. But for Kelly Ray, I mean, I can't say enough about them going into A&M after the couple of weeks they had and being able to win. And anytime you're on the outside looking in, that says there's leadership at the helm. And so I asked Kelly the other day, I said, what is it about you that allowed you to get your team to regroup? And she says, it's just who we are. It's not about the opponent. It's just the next day. And she really credited Delaney Smith, the head coach at Harvard, who Kelly got her first start in college athletics under Kathy Smith-Delaney. Sorry, Kathy. And this is the bottom line for any coach. You don't get there alone. You've got to have those influences. You've got to have those people who support you. And, again, I can't say enough about what the job Kelly has done to this point in the season.
And Adora Onwumelo is able to knock down a couple of free throws, bring her team within 5. So this Auburn group continues to linger around, and they've been able to get points when they've needed and not let the lead get out too great. Remember, Florida led by as many as 13. They've closed the gap to 5. Looking for that final shot on the take, the pull-up, and it falls. 37-30 after Nina Ricards is able to drop the jumper, but great bench production overall from the Florida Gators, boosting with 9 points off the pine for Birdie Rimdahl, the true freshman out of Denmark. 37-30 your score at the half. Now we send it to our studio crew. What's up, y'all?
What?
back in Gainesville, Florida on top 37-30 as we welcome you back inside our home studios with Christy Thomas-Scuddy. I'm Tiffany Green. Well, Florida jumped out, had a lead as large as 13, cut to single digits by Auburn, and they closed out the half very strong and again powered by, who did we mention at the top of the broadcast, Aisha Coulibaly.
Well, when Coulibaly's playing like this, you got a chance game in and game out if you're an Auburn fan. She has shown the full array of her skill set here in the first half. So crafty off the bounce, and yet also to be as strong as she has great touch. Then stepped out, knocked down a three, and then you saw the basketball IQ, reading the defense, taking the easy score. But for Florida, the story has been bench points. 20 points on 8 of 12 shooting. Fleur Tonders, 6 points. Christina Moore with 5 points. Alberti Rimdahl with a huge 9 points. The bench has been spectacular for Florida to this point.
And you compare that to the starters, and yes, they are outpacing their starters, so that's something that Kelly Rae Finley will look to capitalize on, and hopefully her team can continue here in the second half. Auburn, though, shooting a lot better than they did in their last game, coming out at an average of about 44% from the floor through the first 2 quarters. Third quarter action underway, and as we heard Nikki Fargas talk about in studio, who is going to be the Robin to the Batman of Aisha Coulibaly? She said, honestly, Scott Grayson can be that player. On the take, and an offensive foul called on Jordan Merritt. Honesty Scott Grayson for the Tigers with 6 points.
Well, Florida's trying to get out, get those easy buckets in transition, but Sanaya Wells steps up and takes that charge on Merritt.
Well, both of these coaches going to their benches and utilizing 10 players on the court. We saw in action during that first half for Auburn. 12 touched the floor for the Gators. Blocked by Coulibaly. And back the other way, she has one thing in mind, and that's to get to the basket. She does so successfully, finishes off the layup, and cuts the lead to 5.
You know what? When you get a block like that, Tiffany, you don't need to pass to anyone. You should take it coast to coast.
It's mine, she said. And Hughes coming back down the floor. And the Tigers set up in their half court. Wells dumps it off to Johnson. Let's go back to that great defense that finished off with 2 points.
Well, look at the ground she closes to get the block and then gathers it, takes it, splits the D. Beautiful block, beautiful finish by Coulibaly.
And one of the things her head coach, Johnny Harris, said that when she locks in on the defensive end, she is really tough to stop. Good example there of just the length of that 6-foot perimeter player in Coulibaly. Hughes immediately pulls up, jumper, 15-footer falls. And closing in, now Auburn trailing by just 3. Faith Dute on the take, and good defense there from Precious Johnson contesting that shot. Speeding up the other way is Marshawn Bostic, and Coulibaly misses the bunny. Still a one-possession ball game. Broughton showing the Jets and just too strong there. A blocking foul called against Rimdahl. And 2 shots on the way as Bertie Rimdahl picks up her second personal foul.
That's her second, team second. At the line for Auburn, number
Sanaya Wells, the junior out of Moss Point, Mississippi, an excellent free throw shooter. And just as I say that, she misses the first of two, actually leads the SEC now, 46 of 50 from the charity stripe.
Sanaya Wells has moved back to her natural position of point guard this season under Johnny Harris, and I think it's really helped Wells because she is so good in transition. She's still developing. She's still a work in process in terms of her decision making, but you're seeing it in each game. She's getting better and better in terms of the right decision, right time, and delivering the ball to who needs to get it for the Auburn Tigers.
We talked a little bit about both of these coaches being in their first year. For Kelly Rae Finley, she's been with the program, was an associate head coach, and on the previous staff under Cam Neubauer. So she's been with the program for a handful of years. For Johnny Harris, you know, she said she didn't get an opportunity to work with a lot of the players until August, some coming off of injury, but based on that and COVID and all those things that kind of play into what has been, you know, a couple of unusual seasons, she's still trying to input her philosophy on this team and really get her touch in hand on these players.
Well, if you're an Auburn fan, you know that a year ago they really relied on a 3-2 matchup zone. And now with Johnny Harris, she wants up and in you aggressive half-court defense. She wants a dribble drive offense, all things that take great discipline as well as conditioning. And that's why I keep going back to she's got to get more bench involved for her to play the style and to the expectations that she has for this program.
How do you balance that, Christy, when you don't maybe have the depth that you would like coming off the bench? How do you develop that? Is that just a matter of more time on the court and experience for these players, or does that take a little bit of time? Does that take another season or two?
I think every coach is going to do it differently based on who's in front of that player. I think Boston's a great example. Has been getting little minutes here and there, and I thought had a great game against LSU. Just really didn't try to do too much, but just did what she does. And again, unfortunately, it's putting their feet to the fire for these freshmen a lot of times to learn. But until they get the experience, you're not going to get the production until they get the experience.
You talk about getting that experience. We mentioned in the first half just about Precious Johnson, who had very little time to practice with this group and get in sync with this team. And in her second game in an Auburn uniform, she's playing considerable minutes at her debut against LSU Sunday, and now has been on the floor 15 minutes in this ball game and racked up 5 points.
Precious Johnson is every college athlete's role model right now because no one loves preseason. No one loves getting on the track, running, conditioning, and everything else. So to have one practice and then get to play is every collegiate player's dream. But I think it just also says a lot to who Precious Johnson is.
Coming and intercepting that pass is Marshawn Bostic, and Bostic sees it roll around. Johnny Harris says this is a player who goes at one speed, fast, 100% on go mode all the time.
Well, and is a great on-ball defender, as for most freshmen, gets lost sometimes weak side because you can't rest. Well, Marshawn Bostic there just gets beat because she's crowding the defender. Rimdahl takes it, but before that, you're seeing some of this experience come into play for Marshawn Bostic. Shoots the gap, takes it coast to coast for two.
When watching Birdie Rimdahl, who again has had a terrific showing off the bench now with a season high 14 points, make it a career best night for the true freshman. I mean, when we talked to Kelly Rae Finley, she said, like, this is a player who has been taking some training, you know, with Kiki Smith and just knowing when to catch and shoot, knowing when to attack. She can also knock down the outside shot as well. She's a true freshman in this program who has great potential and will be fun to watch moving forward.
I just don't think the young lady makes many mistakes. She does a great job of reading the defense, allowing the game to come to her, and as we've seen this evening, knows how to make the right decision and make the opponent pay.
Under 6 minutes to go in the third quarter, 42-38. Thursday night hoops action starting in Gainesville. A couple more terrific games on the way for you. Of course, we got #1 South Carolina coming on our air next as they will host against Texas A&M. Tight ball game between Auburn and Florida. And just to remind you, yes, we mentioned the game coming your way next, and then finished off by a volunteer state showdown between the 5th-ranked Tennessee Lady Vols and Vanderbilt, led by their first-year head coach, Shay Ralph. It's coming up at 9. You can catch it right here on the SEC Network and also the ESPN app. We saw Vandy's first 2 games postponed. They split with Arkansas and Mississippi State. And Chrissy, that is a theme that we have seen throughout the season and will continue to see across the conferences. Meanwhile, 2-point ball game, and Auburn with a chance to tie or potentially take the lead and going full steam ahead. Offensive foul called on Honesty Scott Grayson. So after the defensive stop, they hand it right back over.
When Auburn had all the momentum off that steal, credit Christina Moore for sliding in to draw the charge. And honestly, Scott Grayson should have given that ball up sooner to Coulibaly on her right hand.
Headsy play by the senior out of Australia, Christina Moore. Kiki Smith back on the attack and immediately puts that left hand high off the glass and pulls the lead back out to 4.
Well, anybody who's following Kiki Smith knows you got to sit on that left hand. You've got to make her beat you going to the right because she is just too good, as we just saw, when she can go left downhill.
Single digits on the shot clock, and what a move. Coulibaly nearly saw that one go in. Kiki Smith moving quickly. Foul called on the floor. Close ball game in Gainesville between Auburn and the Gators. Every game in conference play is ever important, but for the Florida Gators, coming off that win Sunday against Texas A&M, trying to string together wins because their upcoming schedule is a bear. Look at this gauntlet. They will face 4 ranked teams in their next 5 games.
Ready or not, here we come. I mean, the good news is they've shown they can do it based on that win at A&M on Sunday. But I feel like we say this every year. We look at these stretches by so many teams, but it just shows the quality of depth within the SEC to have so many ranked teams.
5 in the AP top 25 this week as the Aggies dropped out. However, Christy, when you're looking at that schedule for the Gators, like, if there is one to steal away with one of those ranked teams, Kentucky, LSU, South Carolina, Tennessee, where do you see the best matchup?
Honestly, I think it might be Kentucky because Kentucky's not that physical down low. They don't have a lot of depth down low. They're going to space you out, which kind of matches up well with this Florida team. But here's what I'll say Florida has a chance. This team is so much better defensively than they were a year ago. And you know, in this league, defense has to travel. So this is why I think Florida's got a shot every night.
Kelly Ray Finley said earlier this season that, yes, her defense is much improved, but she also feels like they are a more physical team than maybe they are given credit for. She feels like when you're talking about taking the punishment game in and game out in the Southeastern Conference, that they are built for this. And this type of toughness that you're seeing on defense, nearly forced a tough shot, but bettering them was Sanaya Wells, knocking down the 3 as the shot clock expired.
Well, Florida came out in a 2-3 matchup. Credit Auburn for being able to finish. But Tonders, yet again,
beautifully run offense, and you see the drop, not the drop, but the drop in terms of points per game for opponents, not letting up. Just 64 points a game, and the decrease in the field goal percentage for their opponents. But that circle, you got a circle there. If we had a telestrator, 9.8 steals per game, which is 4th best in the league.
Oh, so I should have just circled it on my computer screen in a marker. My bad. But I think the other thing I want to make mention of that graphic is it was a shortened non-conference season last year due to COVID. And so the quality of wins for this Florida team as well, beating Florida State, beating Dayton, one of the top teams in the A-10, and then we mentioned beating A&M.
Manu gets that one to drop, or is that Warren? And I think a contact lens may have come out for Kiki Smith. But to further your point, Christy, because I think we may find ourselves in a situation like that yet again this season, especially for some of the, whether it's the SEC or the Pac-12, other conferences may be experiencing this, where you got to figure out if you're going to get the minimum number of games in this year due to COVID health and safety protocols. So you have a minimum of 25 games that have to be played by the NCAA. Naturally, they will review that, but I think we counted, what, all but 4 teams in the SEC have been affected already this season by postponements.
Absolutely. And, you know, as you and I have talked about, it's not just your team staying healthy. I'll take UConn, for example. We know how many games that they were shut down due to COVID protocols. Well, what happens down the stretch if they can't play because of their opponents having issues? So this is where it gets really interesting. And we know there's a trickle-down effect because the Pac-12, for example, UCLA, Oregon State have not played many games. If they're not eligible for the NCAA tournament, do maybe more SEC teams, ACC teams get in the tournament?
That shot needed there by Sanaya Wells, and Wells adding to her point total of now 6, as the Gators had made 4 of their last 5 shots, had moved that lead out very quietly. And Kelly Ray Finley's group is still staying firm and coming up with buckets when they need it. Kiki Smith back to the charity stripe.
Well, if you're Florida, you've got to learn to put teams away. We saw the great first half run and then let Auburn creep back, because this is an Auburn team that run after run against Mizzou and had a chance to win on the road in Columbia right after Mizzou had beaten South Carolina. And against Alabama, the same thing. Alabama had a big lead, and they fought their way back. And that's the most dangerous thing, when you let a team stay around that has the caliber plays like, honestly, Scott Grayson and Koulibaly.
On the make, Koulibaly on cue, picking up her 20th point of the ball game on 8 of 15 shooting. Zippy Broughton airmailed that one. Gators retain possession on the take, no good. But still, the Gators find a way to get the basketball back. Good defense by Graves, contested shot for Broughton.
I think that's important for Florida right now. Get downhill, work on dribble penetration, don't settle for the jumpers, because when they did that in the second quarter, that's when Auburn creeped back in this game.
The crossover, the kick out, and the charge called on Koulibaly.
Manu de Oliveira steps in to draw the charge. That is the 10th one on the season that she has drawn. And honestly, Scott Grayson, as we want to say, Batman, or Robin to Batman in transition for the 2.
Well, Koulibaly pacing the way with 20 points, and as we mentioned, keeping her Tigers in this ball game. Annie Hughes hands it off to Bostic. 2-possession game to close out this third quarter. Under 60. Foul on the floor, and a good time to remind you that Saturday on the SEC Network, a men's quadruple header highlights the day, capped off by 24th ranked Alabama taking on Mississippi State at 6, followed by Auburn, number 4 in the land, as they head to Oxford to take on Ole Miss. That's at 8:30. Both you can find right here on the SEC Network Saturday and also on the ESPN app. Ten of 16 from the free throw line as Wells splits a pair. Smith taking it strong, too strong off the backboard. Hughes.
So last time down, they were trying to get some two-man action between Coulibaly and Bostic, and Bostic never could get to the screener until she was fouled.
They kick it out. Coulibaly with a good look, dead on from 3. The miss, kind of trying to get that rebound. Both Manu and honestly Scott Grayson going out of bounds. Good hustle by both teams.
Great effort by both of these young ladies. And Tiffany, how great is it to have Manu de Oliveira back with Florida this season?
Indeed, just before the buzzer, 0.1 seconds remaining, and Kiki Smith taking it all the way to the basket. She's fouled. Johnny Harris's team trailing by 5 points. Hoping that her team can have a strong performance like they had here in the third quarter. As you see the numbers for Kiki Smith this season, we talked about how strong she is during conference play. Those numbers don't lie to you right there on the screen. 19 points in SEC play compared to 12 during the non-conference. 54-48, the Gators hang tight here in the third quarter. They take the lead going into the fourth, an all-around effort, but this is going to be a battle to the finish when we come back. Christy, when we were talking about what was important to both of these teams, i.e. keys to the game, taking care of the basketball was paramount to both coaches thus far. Both of these groups are doing a great job. Just 10 turnovers for Auburn in single digits with 8 for the Gators. Paint points have been in favor slightly to Auburn. I mean, just kind of really a nice evenly matched ball game that we've seen here today. The question is, who else can be that secondary scorer besides Coulibaly to help get it done? They've spread it out, but nobody greater than 6 points on the Tigers roster who's touched the floor.
Well, I agree with Nikki Fargas when she said it needs to be honesty Scott Grayson. Annie Hughes is great when others are creating and she can spot up for 3. Coulibaly, not a good shot, but I credit her for following that, trying to get the offensive rebound. And for Florida right now, they don't need to settle for outside shots. That's what Auburn wants them to do. They need to try to create off the bounce for themselves or kick it out to shooters.
On the steal, Sanaya Wells comes up with it. And the junior point guard hands it over to Honesty Scott Grayson. Grayson, who played at Baylor before heading over to Auburn. The putback there is good by Precious Johnson. So Johnson with 7 points now. 6-0 boards for the Tigers.
Well, Auburn's not a very tall team. Before Johnson arrived on the scene, the tallest player was 6'2". So she not only gives them a 6'5" presence, she's obviously giving them 5 more fouls. Great minutes, but I think she also complements Coulibaly well because it allows Coulibaly to do more things facing up.
Scott Grayson working on Rimdahl. 5 to go on the shot clock. The pull-up jumper off the rim. Manu, the take to the basket, and she's still on the ground. You talked about happy to see her back on the floor for the Gators. Remember last year?
Well, Manu's
She wasn't
usually
with
the
the
one
team.
taking those charges. This time a little out of control. Looked like she stubbed her foot, and that's what caused her to get out of rhythm. Good call by the official.
A little limp to the sideline as she takes a seat, but tried to get back into the United States. Originally from Brazil, was in her home country and had trouble doing so, but finally was able to rejoin the team. And they're happy to have her presence back on the floor as she's been a good contributor. Sanaya Wells. As Hughes on the take and the make. That was how Manu stayed in Gainesville, right? That was the cardboard cutout that was seen on the sideline while she was out of the country last season.
It didn't just stay in Gainesville. It traveled. It went to every game with the Gators last year.
That's feeling the love. And one way that Manu was able to stay connected to her teammates, just like a lot of squads had to do across the country, especially during the pandemic, was through Zoom calls and keeping pace with what was going on. The miss underneath the basket. A 2-point ball game. Auburn with a chance to tie. A timeout taken by Johnny Harris. And we will take the break with them. Come back with us. We've got more from Gainesville. Not deviate from the plan and try to do it on your own, but instead just stick to the game plan that we have. Out of the timeout, on the inbound, it's stolen away by the Gators. Kiki Smith coming up with the grab. Not the way that Johnny Harris drew it up off the miss from Rimdahl, and still a chance for the Tigers to tie this ball game. As Scott Grayson drops it off to Coulibaly, and this game is tied for the first time since the first quarter, when it was 4-4.
Well, and this is what I think Auburn needs to do more of, is push tempo. Don't try to go against the the half-court man of Florida. Get those easy scoring opportunities. Great job of, honestly, Scott Grayson of dishing it to Coulibaly.
And if you're just tuning in, the Gators have led by as many as 13 points. A great showing from Rimdahl off the bench, pacing the way for Florida with a career best 14 points. But Coulibaly with another 20-plus point ball game. She's kept her group in it, and now they're tied at 54 all. Auburn searching for their first win in conference play. And Coulibaly is fouled on the way to the hoop.
I thought Auburn might. Sorry, Tiffany, I thought Auburn might move Coulibaly low because she had Ricards on her defending her. But this is why I say she's such a tough matchup. She took the guard off the bounce and drew the foul to get to the free throw line.
And a couple of players for Auburn slow to get up, including Coulibaly. They play on. Nice move to the basket. Can't finish there, but she will get 2 attempts at the free throw line.
I didn't see Florida's scouting report, but I got to believe this play was in there because she's done it a couple of times this season. If you chase the defender too hard, as her defender, she spins at baseline. Great read, great feel by the sophomore to get to the free throw line.
Team's leading scorer and rebounder. We talked about her numbers, how they've skyrocketed from last year to this year. 22 points tonight, and has a chance to give her team the first lead since early in the ball game. This is the first free throw. Connects there, and Auburn takes the lead 55-54 with 5:29 to go.
Hey, if you're an Auburn Tiger fan, this bodes well for you because in every Auburn win, Koulibaly's averaging over 20 points a game.
Her 620-point ball game and a 7-0 run, and the Tigers can add to it here. She's also closing in on another double-double. She's got 3 on the season.
Tiff, you've mentioned the points and rebounds, but let's not forget she also leads this team in steals and getting to the free throw line. She just never rests. She's so active on both ends of the floor.
Talk about never resting. 32 minutes played in this ball game. She, along with Annie Hughes, stay on the court a whole lot. 32 minutes plus for both players. Hughes on the miss there. Jordan Merritt, who has been quiet here this evening, coming away with it. Scott Grayson in transition, off and running, dumps it off, and Annie Hughes is there to finish it. This Auburn team has hung in there, and it seems as if they've gotten an extra kick of life in this fourth quarter on a 9-0.
Well, to coming into tonight, Florida is 10-0 on the season when they've scored more points than their opponent in fast breaks. And for Auburn, I've said this throughout SEC play, because they've struggled in the half court, create those easy scoring opportunities by getting out in transition. Great execution by Florida out of the break.
And there's Kiki Smith, their leader, coming up with a bucket, bringing them within 1. So now possessions are going to be crucial moving forward. And you felt like this was going to come down to a possession game. Like each of these players, each of these teams understanding what they have to work with. And so possessions are going to be crucial.
I mean, both teams averaged within 3 points of one another coming in. They shot within a couple of percentage points of one another. Rebounding was basically even. Assists were only 1 apart. Steals were 1 apart. I mean, so evenly matched. So what's the difference? Who gets more of those scoring opportunities?
And also worth mentioning that Wells, Koulibaly, Scott Grayson, and Bostic all with 3 personal fouls. Florida just with 1 player in Manu de Oliveira with 3 personals.
When I feel like those Auburn players have been sitting on those 3 fouls, and Florida hasn't exploited that. They've been settling for outside shots for those jumpers instead of trying to attack off the bounce like we saw so much in the first half, or first quarter, I should say.
Quick break in the action as the flow of the game kind of slowed down there a little bit. Honesty Scott Grayson approaches the free throw line. 0 for 3. Those are our first free throw attempts of the night.
Hey, in defense of all these players, I think you should stop announcing any free throw percentages of any of these players, because right now you're just jinxing every one of these young ladies.
It never bodes well. The announcer jinx is totally there. I did it to Sanaya Wells earlier, who is an outstanding free throw shooter. The pressure there from the Tigers, and the defense come up with a turnover. They force another one, the 11th for the Gators tonight.
Well, Annie Hughes might not be the fastest player on the court, but she's usually assignment specific in terms of being correct. That time plays that play perfectly to force the turnover.
Constantly on the court and consistent when she is on the court. Wells picks up her dribble, looking for Hughes, finds Coulibaly. Double dribble on that spin move for Coulibaly, so they hand it over to the Gators.
If Coulibaly had split Kiki Smith and Christina Moore on that possession, I was just going to lose it. Because, I mean, Kiki Smith is one of the better defenders in the conference. Unfortunately, she gets called for the double dribble.
Tried to force the pass in, and Kiki Smith is fortunate that it remains Florida basketball.
This is when you see it's a graduate transfer, or graduate player who's played a lot under her head coach. Kiki just kind of halfway looked at Kelly Ray and gave a wave like, my bad, coach, and just got back to her team.
And Kiki and Kelly Ray Finley have a great relationship. And falling hard to the floor was Weich, Talia Weich, with a hard hit as she falls to the hardwood.
Yeah, Coulibaly gets there late. Good call by the official.
And that's 4 fouls on Coulibaly. So just as you mentioned, taking advantage and trying to attack there, and we're being told that it's a technical foul called against Coulibaly.
Well, then that would be her fifth.
And that means, yeah, oh, wow. How unfortunate for the Tigers, their leading scorer, who had 24 points here tonight. After the play, slams the ball in frustration, and that technical foul puts her out of the ball game.
And you could see as soon as Coulibaly put the ball down, she knew she shouldn't have. This look on her face, very unfortunate for the young lady who's having a great game, and even more unfortunate for the Auburn Tigers. I mean, you see her even looking to the official like, I didn't mean it at you. I really believe that pounding of the ball was frustration in herself because she got there late on the rotation and caused the foul.
But now, a completely different dynamic for the Auburn Tigers, because we've asked this question throughout the ballgame, Christy, as to who would step up and be that complimentary scorer to Coulibaly. Now that she's not on the court any longer, who's it going to be? Well, that's a discussion that Johnny Harris and her staff are going to have as they spend a timeout with 2:25 remaining.
And I think that's a big timeout. I think it hopefully bodes well for Auburn because Johnny Harris can now regroup her team without her star player. But that leaves Auburn with just one timeout remaining in this ball game. And I think that's an example. They were forced to call the timeout because usually Coulibaly's coming to the ball to bail them out. She wasn't on the floor that time to help them.
And this is an Auburn team who went into the locker room with 30 points, but they have come out hot here in the second half. It feels as if they've kind of found their rhythm, but who was leading the beat for this group was Coulibaly. So
well, I think we're going to have our
to
answer. Sorry, I was going to say, I think we're going to have our answer who she's looking to go to on this set play.
The bounce pass into Scott Grayson, good shifting of the body, puts it back up, gets her own rebound, and she's fouled. So the redshirt junior out of Brick, New Jersey will shoot a couple. Remember, she was the top returner from last year.
She'll shoot 2 shots.
Tiffany, I love this set play because they didn't go to it immediately. They waited for ball reversal, Then knowing Florida would overplay, cuts Honesty Scott Grayson back door. She gets to the free throw line.
Didn't mention how she had done at the free throw line, Christy, and just like that, couple of free throws made, 61-58 Auburn. But the graduate, Kiki Smith, coming back unfazed at all, brings her team within one. And then trying to create some full court pressure as Moore tried to trap. She's whistled for the personal foul.
Here's the veteran play of Kiki Smith. No one's between you and the basket. You don't need a play. You take it to the hole. And we've seen her do this time and time again in her career. Big bucket for Florida.
She has just been vital to this program throughout her career. Transferred in as a JUCO where she started. And since she has been a Florida Gator, she has made her presence felt. Sanaya Wells, that's who you want at the free throw line if you're Auburn. Best in the conference, one of the top in the country in terms of free throws made. She knocks down both. So the clock is currently stuck at 2:01, so the officials whistled for this stoppage of play to see if they can get it corrected. And a couple of seconds wind off of it, and it's set to 1:58. Florida will inbound it. Under 2 minutes to go, 3-point ball game in Gainesville. Auburn with a chance to pick up their first win in SEC play. Florida trying to move to an even 200, win back-to-back in the conference. Christy
Tiff,
Thomas.
I don't mind that shot there because it went in first. It was dribble penetration for the open look, whereas I felt like a lot of these shots this quarter, Florida's just been settling for the outside shot. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, because I said your name and boom, you hit us with the information immediately. That's what you do, Christy. And so Auburn comfortable with taking time off the clock, getting the look that they want. Bounce pass from Hughes, and it was blocked underneath by Weich. And Weich, one of the twin freshmen, coming up with a big swat.
Huge defensive stand by Talia Weich there.
Out of the Fort Lauderdale area, both she and her sister on the team. Florida trailing by 3 again. Kiki Smith, you've got to stop her. She's a southpaw. She's going to go to the left side every time, and it feels like she's done that time and time again tonight against the Tigers. Auburn hanging on to a 1-point lead on the road. Honesty Scott Grayson, that shot may have been altered. Hands high for the Gators defender.
I don't feel like Auburn had to foul there. They
Yeah.
did not need to foul there. 1-point game. They could have played the defense out.
I'm going to ask, do you think that was purposeful there, Christy, or was that more of an inadvertent foul?
Honestly, because she missed that shot, I wouldn't be surprised if it was on purpose.
4 fouls on Honesty Scott Grayson. Kiki Smith at the line, and let's take another look at it here.
Yeah, she's it's a purposeful foul because she didn't even really go for the ball.
I'm with you, though. The opportunity to play it out as opposed to stop the clock. And just like that, the Gators move Big Mo back in their favor as they're up 64-63. Auburn spins their final timeout. So they have none remaining. Taking a look at the Tigers' upcoming schedule, they'll go on the road to Texas A&M and close out their road trip before heading home to face Alabama and hosting the 5th-ranked Tennessee Lady Vols, Vandy and Mississippi State to round things out heading into February. We saw Coulibaly take over for the Tigers and for the Gators. You mentioned the veteran leadership of Kiki Smith coming up big in moments when they need her.
Well, throughout this fourth quarter, every time Florida has needed a bucket, Kiki Smith has answered in transition, in the half court, off of a horn set, at the free throw line. Kiki Smith has come up big for the Florida Gators this afternoon.
Well, Smith has done her thing. Remember, Auburn opened this quarter on a 9-0 run. They took the lead, held on to it for a little bit, but a huge boost in the second half by Kiki Smith. 16 of her 19 points coming in these last 2 quarters.
And Tiff, 8 of Florida's 10 points, Kiki Smith here in the fourth.
Yeah. And we saw a strong second half push in that win against Texas A&M Sunday as they headed into double overtime to pull out the win. And here another strong second half showing once more in regulation for the Gators. Out of the timeout, Annie Hughes missing the 3, coming up with the rebound, and quickly a foul by Zaria Wiggins. First time we're calling her name tonight. And Aisha Coulibaly, you go back to 2 minutes and 48 seconds in this fourth quarter, picked up her 4th personal foul, but in frustration, slammed the ball, called for a technical. That was her 5th personal. It means she fouled out, and 24 points on the bench for the Tigers. Let's go back to it here as the score was 59-57, Auburn with the lead, and then this is where things changed.
Yeah, I think it's a great lesson for all young players out there, just about how in control of your emotions you have to be at all times. Obviously, I do not think in any way that was directed at the official. I think she was frustrated with herself in that moment. Doesn't matter, still gets the technical called. And Tiffany, that last whistle was timeout by Florida to advance the ball. No foul on the play.
So Florida inbounds it in the half court, quickly fouled from behind by Honesty Scott Grayson. And Grayson, I believe that's her 5th personal foul as well. So the top 2 scorers for Auburn on the bench in the last 3 minutes of play on the road, as the Tigers trying to pick up their first win in conference play. But this is not the way that Johnny Harris saw this play out for her group, who's put up a great fight here tonight.
Absolutely, and here's the thing. I go back to that foul by Honesty Scott Grayson when they were up 1. There was no need. That's why you always have to be aware of time and score. And so now Auburn's playing from behind, but the good news is even if Florida makes both these free throws, it's still a 1-possession ball game, but Auburn is out of timeouts.
And it's worth mentioning that Auburn is not the strongest 3-point shooting team. They've hit 2 of 10 here tonight.
If you're going percentage, it's going to be Annie Hughes that they've got to get the ball for. And you saw Seth the last time, a little screen-the-screener action for her to pop open for the 3.
Hughes being guarded by Broughton, trying to come off those screens. Top of the key, picks it up. First time we're seeing Riley Donahue, and Riley Donahue misses there. Quickly fouled, 2 seconds remaining. And Florida can seal this one at the free throw line. And you see the hurt and disappointment from the sophomore Aisha Coulibaly, who was balling here tonight, but just made a mental miscue towards the end of the game that affected the outcome of the game potentially for her team.
Yeah, really unfortunate. And I think you can take a couple of different things. I think Koulibaly will learn from what happened. A really unfortunate technical being called. But what I will say is that you see how close Auburn is. Even again tonight, within the last minute of a game, they have a chance. They've just got to stay with it, keep learning. But this program, despite the loss, is trending in the right direction.
They take one on the chin tonight on the road. It's the Florida Gators with a 68-63 victory. Back-to-back wins in the SEC for interim head coach Kelly Ray Finley. And the Gators continuing to play great team basketball. They hang on here for Christy Thomascutti. I'm Tiffany Green. We send it to Andrea Carter and Nikki Fargas back in the studio.